So Travis, I know you gave me in cryptic language an
Yes.
intro that you'd like to do, and I'm ready for it. What do we got?
All right. So we're gonna call this segment lightning round.
Okay.
Shooting some questions at each other. We do not know what questions the others have prepared.
Prepared. Nope.
But I just told Rob to just think of some questions to ask me that are random. Like think of the most random questions you can think of. Just throw them at me, whatever they are. And
I got it.
so there are no rules. And this all came from me sitting down. I was eating cereal, and I'm gonna roll right into our first question. And this
Deep
is
thoughts with
this is
Captain Crunch. Yes.
get
Okay.
ready, Rob, because here's
Okay.
the first one.
Shoot.
So when you eat cereal, do
Mm-hmm.
you eat every last piece in the bowl, or do you leave some like a crazy person and then like set them on the
Oh.
counter when you're
Oh
done?
no, I'm scraping the edges and drinking. Yeah, that bowl could be mistaken as a new fresh bowl by the time I'm done with it. So,
Okay, okay,
yes, I'm
I see
eating
you. I
everything.
see you. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
I
not
I
scraping. No, not
I
scraping.
leave I leave a little bit of the sediment at the bottom with the milk.
Ah, I
Not gonna
gotcha.
lie. I don't go well. Sometimes I'll drink it all, but I don't really care for that last bit.
Yeah, I think it
unlike
depends. I
unlike
think it depends.
soft serve ice cream when you get to the end and you get that last bite,
You
which is the
have to
best
eat that
bite,
bite.
the
That's
best
almost the
bite of
best part.
all.
It's almost the best part, right?
It is. It is. They sell those just as those little bottoms. I
What?
don't know
This
if
is
they're
the
as
first
good as
time I'm
eating.
hearing of
I mean,
this.
I don't know. I feel like you kind of have to put in the work. Like you should put in the work to get that last
That's
bite. I
that's
don't
the
know.
prize box, right? You're a good student. That's the prize box at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
you need to finish it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So, okay, now you get a question. Thanks for answering. Send it my
Okay.
way.
As you can see, if you've been listening to us for any moment or if you listen to any podcast, we don't prepare these questions ahead of time, even though we did this time. But I guess where we pull them from is different. So here's my first question,
Yes,
Travis.
yes. Oh, I'm so
Okay.
excited for the
What
difference that we're gonna
and
have here.
if you're watching this on video, I've got them pulled up on my computer, so that's why I'm looking off screen. But what was so far? What was the most surprising part of becoming a dad?
Ooh.
And we can riff on this for a second. So, what was the most surprising part of becoming a dad?
See, yeah, this is our personalities wrapped up in a little bow. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know that I'm gonna ask about the last bite of cereal, and Rob's gonna ask about something philosophical, and but I'm here for it.
I love it. I
That's why
love
when
it.
we shot when we when
This
we were
is why
first
I
talking.
love our podcast. It's because literally you get the polars and everything between. Like
Yeah.
it's a broad stroke. I love it.
Well,
Okay, so
yeah, well, and we want to hit all of our audience, right? So some people are like, please don't let Travis talk, and other people are like, Rob's
please
a
don't let Rob
really
talk. Like some
philosophical
people are
guy,
like, please don't let Rob talk too.
Yeah.
So
So you're welcome, everybody. You got us
exactly.
both, no matter what you like.
Exactly.
Um. mm,
So what's been
okay.
surprising? Or I know there's obviously there's a lot of surprising moments, but like what was the first knee jerk reaction you had as soon as I finished that sentence? Like, hey, wow, so far this has been kind of the big, or you can like it's a memory. Like, oh, this memory is soldered into my memory. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, a surprising. When I think of surprising, I didn't. Uh, okay, I'm gonna do like a positive and a negative one. Okay,
okay,
so
I
the
just saw.
negative.
I saw you on video. If you're watching on video, you could see that line in the sand right there when he was like, maybe I shouldn't mention that.
So okay, so my negative one that's surprising
Okay.
is I'm surprised at how many times I have to say something before they they listen to me sometimes. And I knew that was I knew that was like that's I'm not surprised. I was a child. I know how
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
goes. But sometimes I'm like literally the other day I was like ground control to Major Tom. Hello. I'm talking to you.
Let me write
Uh
this down for you.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So but then also, I mean, you can't nothing before I was a parent.
Hmm.
I was always trying to have that mentality in my mind of like I had some jobs where I was like watching kids, like
Hmm.
when I was younger, I worked at a daycare, and some
Mhm.
like other things like that, summer camps and things. And I always thought, like, as a leader at one of these camps or whatnot, like, if danger befalls anybody, like, I'm jumping in.
Swooping in. Yeah.
I'm gonna like treat this, like, 7-year-old like it was my own kid.
Mhm.
Like, I will protect them, and
Mhm.
like so I've always thought about that. But boy, I mean, I thought that, like, the instinct was there back then, but I'm surprised just how much, like how strong that bond, that security
That
is.
instinct, right? That instinct to
Instinct, yeah.
protect. Yeah.
Yeah, like, no matter what. No, like those videos of, like parents running into the burning house, like,
Mhm.
as soon as you become a parent, you're gonna do that. If
You
your kid
understand.
is
You
in the
understand.
middle of, like, an atomic bomb, you're just like,
Mhm.
I'm going for it. It's just there, no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of, yeah. I mean, it was just, yeah. Well, and I'm just surprised at, like, how much love I can feel for my kid too. Like, I just, like, every kid, right? You're
Yeah.
like, each kid. I'm like, how could I love another kid? Like, oh, it's
Once
right
you're a
there.
parent.
Like, it's
Yep.
just expands and it grows and it's just there. So
Yeah.
that's my answer for that one.
I like it. I like it. That was good. That was good.
Yeah, yeah. So, what did I do with my questions? Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, I part of me thought, like, oh, maybe we should answer each other's questions, our own questions, but no, we are gonna keep skipping back on because we only have
Okay.
so much time.
Okay.
And sorry, you get all the fun stuff.
I
All right,
apologize ahead of time
all right.
too. You're
Next
gonna
up,
have to think about
no,
a lot of
no,
these.
no, no. I love this. This is fun. This is fun. Flip the
Okay, shoot.
script, baby. All right. Crinkle or fold? Classic question. When you wipe, are you crinkling or are you folding that teepee?
Folding. Folding.
Folding, hands
Yes.
down.
Hands down folding. There's enough to go around. Now, if we're on that like last square, maybe we're not folding. Maybe we're
Yeah.
not folding. Maybe we're crinkling. But yeah, we're a fold family here for sure.
Okay. Okay. I see
Yep.
you. I see
Yep.
you.
Yep.
All
I
right.
think
I'm not gonna answer. I'm gonna keep going.
yeah,
Like, all
I
right.
think
Yeah.
I think it's because I was never shown another way, right? Like I remember like in school, like when you're kindergarten, first grade, and they're like potty training you, and they show you to like to roll it together. Now the catch
Yeah.
22 is we tried doing this with our kids, and half the toilet paper roll disappears in every session. So we need to kind of like limit the amount of folds, right? So we've limited to
Yeah.
like, hey, three. You guys get three folds, and that's it. Like three pieces. You won't need more. If so, you should be like calling for help. Like if it's more than that, you need some help. You're stuck in the toilet, right? Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
I had a great vacation conversation with my family, like, years ago, and then we got into how many squares you use, and it was hilarious because there were some strong opinions on how many that should be. But that's for another day. Go ahead,
Okay.
hit me with your next question.
Okay, man. That the first one was a softball pitch. Here's a little bit more of I'd say a change up. So, how did you know your spouse was the one?
How did I know my spouse was the one?
Like, was there a
Oh,
moment where you're
baby.
like,
Yep. Yep.
"Yep,
Yeah. The
switch went
light
on"?
shone upon her.
Yes,
Yeah.
and like everything
Yep.
faded to the back. Like, when did that moment in the story? Do you know a specific moment? Was it gradual? Like, how did you know she was the one? How did you know?
Yeah. Well, there are two like junctures where I that we both remember that I think are good. That the first comes to my mind.
Mhm.
And so one of them is actually about when I knew, like, she was the one I wanted to date, but, like, we had
Mhm.
been friends for a
Oh,
long
I like
time.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So
We'll do both. The
so here's the
junction of like,
deal.
hey, this is going to be, I want a relationship. And then
Yeah.
it's till death do us part. Like when were those two?
Yep. So, we were friends, and the funny thing was, at the time, well, when we first met, I was dating somebody else, and then I uh, just got to know her. She was like, it was in college, in
Mhm.
our church group that we, like, met, but we were both going to the same college also, and we had this house. She was staying living at one point. She was living at this house that we all kind of like gathered at a lot.
Mhm.
And so then I started to get to know her, and anyways, we became friends. Well, I um I stopped dating that person, and then for a while I was like on the hunt, and I was like,
Like,
I had like three lines in the water. So I was like,
gotcha,
hey, if I
gotcha.
got option A, I got option B, and I got option C. So if that works, then okay. If that doesn't work, then I got this. So I was like, all right, I got the lines in the water. What do I do? So I kept going to her, and I was like, hey. So I talked to her. We went out and did this thing. Or like, should I take her to dinner? Should I ask her? Like, this seems like she told me this, so on and so forth. And slowly but surely, nothing was working out.
Mm.
And um, this, I was pretty fixated on that. And I was like, I'm gonna make one of these work out.
Mhm.
Um, and we went out on this walk one night, as like from that house. We were just, and I was just like, man, like it's just like it's not
None of the fish
working.
are biting. I don't know what's
None of the
going
fish are
on.
biting. Like I
Yeah.
keep snapping my lines.
Mhm.
And she was like, hey, you know what? And this gets into like my personal story is like, she was like, maybe you should just like focus on your relationship with God a bit more, and like
Mm.
he's gonna take care of you. This is like, come on. like
Yeah.
like, like she was like, get your act together in a nice way. She was like, and I was like,
Huh.
oh. And then
Gotcha.
the
Yep,
light
yep.
shone upon
The
her,
confidant
and I
became
was like,
the confidant. Gotcha.
she's the one.
Mhm, mhm.
And all of a sudden, yeah, I was just like, uh, I'm gonna
Got
date
it.
her.
Yeah.
And then
You're
she
gonna
was
live God
very
alone.
opposed to that. That's another story. But
I
basically,
love that.
she was
And
like,
she decided to say no. Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So I convinced her. Long story short, I told her this is how it's gonna go, and she was like, "No, we need to be friends." And I was like, "No, but you love me." And she was like, "Oh, I guess you're right." And here we are.
And here you are.
So
I love it.
the next part of that was that there was a point where I was talking with her on the phone. One of those
Mhm.
nights you're just sitting there laying around talking on the phone. No, you hang up. No, you
No,
hang
you
up.
hang up. You first. Yeah.
And
Yep.
stop it. And we got to the point where I was like, this she and I think, I don't know if it was that moment, or like if I this was when I said it, but like I knew at that I was like, I told her at that point, I was like, I'm in love with you.
Mhm.
Like this is a real this is the real deal.
And then you
And I
hung up
think from that
quickly,
point
right? You
forward, I
just
was
left
like,
it like that.
I could, yeah, I see myself for the long haul here.
Yeah. Yes.
So the next question for you
Mhm.
is, if you could hop on a motorcycle again right now, like if you owned one and you were just like heading out in this moment, what type would you pick? Street,
Dyna.
cruiser,
Street Glide.
dirt?
Dyna, Street Glide, Harley Davidson. Easy. That's kind of like the
Hands down.
hands down. That's always been on like the vision board, right? Like
Yes.
that's the bike. I don't need another bike, right? I like all bikes, don't get me wrong. But
Yeah.
if it's like, hey Rob, we're playing the adult claw game at the shop, which one would
Yep.
you want?
Yep.
I'd be like, I'll take that Street Glide over there. Thank you. And the
Yes.
reason being is one of my bucket list things to do is actually like where you guys are at, it's to drive the coast like north south,
Yes.
just drive all the way up until we can't drive no more, and then drive back down. So doing that, I couldn't do it on my little Sportster back in the day because we'd be going like gas tank to gas tank to gas tank. But on a street glide, we
Yeah.
can enjoy ourselves. So that
Yeah.
was an easy answer. Yeah, I had that one in the back pocket. I knew one day you would ask, and I knew that was coming.
Yes.
So
Oh man.
yeah,
Oh well, we're gonna combine bucket lists.
yeah,
Let's do
exactly,
it. Oh
exactly,
man.
exactly.
Oh
We're doing
yes. And
that.
we'll
We got to do
record a
the
couple
coastal one.
podcasts while we're on it. Let's
Yeah,
do it.
exactly. We can bring a camera and some mics. Done.
Ooh, baby. Okay.
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 Yes. All right, it's done. May that
Okay.
be noted.
It's
Your
noted because
turn.
it's on this podcast, right? So we'll have a reference point.
Yep.
Okay, so let me look at my list. Um okay. If you could change one thing about your fatherhood, what would it be?
Oh man. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
You could
Okay.
change one thing. It doesn't
Okay.
need
If
to
I
be
could
like
change
super
one
deep
thing.
philosophy. It could just be like, I would have not taken night shift, or you know what, I would have liked to bottle fed more early on. It would have like saved time. Like it could be anything, right? It doesn't need to be like this big life changing fatherhood thing. But just so far as a parent, like we kind of keep tallies, right? As the
Yep.
kids are growing up, and then as you have multiples, you're like, oh, we're not going to do that again, right? So it's like
Yes.
what you have change maybe from going from your first to your second, right? Like you
No,
realize something like, hey,
no,
we
it's holistic. I already have one that's in my
okay,
head.
you got okay,
I
got it.
I
Go.
I think this applies to everything, and it's like
Okay.
the way I heard that was like, what would I want to change about myself?
Okay.
Immediately, I was like, what is a characteristic that I would like to change?
Okay. I
And
like
when
it.
you talk about it this way, this is great because it
Yeah.
identifies ways that I can grow and moving forward
Like it.
step little bit by bit.
Yep.
The thing I would change is I would want to be more present.
Mm,
Like not in the like as far as space goes, like I'm very fortunate to have gotten to be full-time dad, but
mhm.
even in that I've like I'm still so frustrated with how much I'm on my phone. And
Dude,
so
I
I'm
know
like
exactly
taking
where you're at.
baby bits to get there, but like some days are great and some days are like still just bottom of the barrel.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
and so if I could see a mirror or watch a replay of my day, I feel like I would be sick to my stomach sometimes if I'm honest with myself because of the
Mhm.
amount of times I would be like on my phone, because
Mhm.
it's like, and even like, it's like, sure, I'm doing things like I'm contacting this person or I'm checking this email, but like, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. The kids at this age, they don't understand that. They just
No.
see me staring at the screen. And
Yeah.
so, um, yeah, like a more of a just so that's that. I mean,
Love
and
it.
that's straight up. We could have a whole
Love it.
podcast about that
I
on
was gonna say, love
like,
it.
yeah.
Actually,
Let's
on a
talk
short
about
tangent,
phones. We will.
short tangent on that one. I literally, I think 4 days ago, deleted social.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Like I'm still doing the podcast, like our end of it, but I can do
yeah,
that from my desktop.
yes.
I'm not able to do that on the phone. So I just delete it from my phone. And
Bloop
I
bloop.
can't tell you how many times the first like 48 hours, I was like, this when you scroll down and the
Yep.
search bar shows
Muscle
up.
memory.
Yeah.
Swipe
And I,
swipe.
I, I
Boom.
click
What?
and then it goes to like a notepad. I'm like, what? Oh yeah.
What?
I forgot I
What?
deleted that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
good on you,
Yeah.
man. That's actually pretty spot on of what I was gonna say. Pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What do you
So
got?
that's that. Hey Rob,
Yeah.
what's your favorite kind of cloud?
The Bart Simpson cloud.
Yeah, we
Like
have
the
the same
sky
favorite cloud. Come
the
on.
sky full
Stop
of
it.
the
Stop
Bart
it.
Simpson clouds. Yeah.
Stop. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Those are the
That's how
best
it is, man.
clouds.
It's the
Hands
best
down the
cloud.
best clouds.
It is the best
That
cloud.
makes that can take your day from a 4 to a
Oh my
10
goodness.
with Bart
Sometimes
Simpson
I
clouds.
literally will go outside, and it's part of what I do to kind of like is I look at the clouds, right? I remember vividly like one of my, I don't want to say escapes, but one of like me times as a kid growing up, and we've talked about this on podcasts, is to lay down on the grass
Yep.
and watch the clouds. So even nowadays, like if I'm at the park with the kids, or if I'm like focused working from the office and I need a moment, I'll just look up. I'll go outside and look up.
Yep.
And that has a magical way of kind of resetting me, right? Like, oh, okay, I am this small, all is well. Let's get back to it, right? And so, yeah. And for some reason, I don't know, maybe because I grew up watching Bart Simpson and that I associate that to clouds, but yeah. And we've had a couple of those in SoCal recently too, some Bart Simpson clouds. So definitely the cloud to get.
Yep. If you moved up to NorCal, you'd have even more Bart Simpson clouds for sure.
I
That's a
believe it.
cool thing.
I
Love
believe it.
that out here. So,
Okay,
yep.
so
Hit
my
me up.
turn. Let's see. Okay. Well, actually, no, this one was, no, I'm sorry. I'm retracting this one because I have a feeling that some of those answers would be part of previous answers questions.
Okay. Cool.
Um, okay. Here's a good one. How has your relationship with your siblings changed over time? So maybe fatherhood, not fatherhood, but we all have memories of growing up, getting like beat up or picked on or whatever, depending on the picking order, right? And then
Yep.
now it's different, right? We're adults. Maybe there was a college time, a high school time. So you might have specific, anecdotal stories, or you could just kind of like point chart it out and be like, hey, it was like this, then it was like that, now it's like this. But how has your relationship with your siblings changed over time?
It's so funny because it's all tied together. Like what I have for our topic today, plus
So
what I was
funny.
talking to somebody about with the. Anyways, just believe me on that one. Okay, so because we only have a very limited amount of time, the bullet point version
Well,
is
pause on that. So
yeah.
don't worry about the time because I can extend our time. So if you have the time to talk, I can extend our time. It's going to cut us out, but we just log back in and then I. Yep.
Oh, look at that.
The
Well,
magic
hey,
of technology.
yeah. So this is what I would say. I'm the oldest.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I feel like I never like fought with my brothers. I feel like a lot. I don't have like a lot of memories of us like there's some guys I know that are like, oh, we used to like punch each other in the face and like that. Just I wasn't really
Yeah,
us.
that wasn't a thing.
But
Yeah,
we had we actually had a proper avenue for that technically because me and like the next brother
exactly.
down, we had jujitsu
Yeah,
and
now what?
boxing, which we did
Yeah, now
both
what?
like for a little bit when I was younger. So, um, but anywho, yeah. So great, like childhood, like we kind of just were like always around each other. You know, we
Hmm.
did all like the kid stuff. We played pickle in the front yard. What happened to pickle? What
I
happened to
don't.
pickle? I don't know.
I don't know.
And we like shot each other with airsoft guns. We had wars. That was amazing.
Yeah,
And
I've
then
got,
well, and
I've got a
then
couple of babies. Yeah.
we had we had kind of like a dropping out, like as you like go through puberty and you're like going
Mm,
through high school.
yeah. Yeah.
We separated. So like
Mm,
we did a lot of things very much apart.
hmm.
And then the funny thing is, like, I feel like a lot of guys could attest to this, and maybe you can too, but like, there was this season of like, oh, like I found my friend group, they found his friend, like we all did our own thing. And so like those friends became kind of like family,
Hmm.
and we were just like out in that so much that like we were still family, but we like only
Yep.
saw each other like very
Holidays,
limited.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. And so it came to this point where it was funny because it's like we all wanted to reconnect, but we just didn't know how. And it was like
Mm,
awkward because it was just like we're family, but we didn't do anything for this like amount of time.
hmm.
So yeah, so there was this big space, and then um it's great. Like a couple years ago, like all of a sudden we all realized that, and now we're far enough along. It was just like it took like one of like my middle brother made a really courageous step to just be like, this is where I'm at in life,
Hmm.
and it like really connected us in a way that I had no idea. I was like, wow, you know, and so we started connecting, and then my youngest brother has been like all the way on the other side. He was in the military for a
Mm.
while, and then he lives on the other side of the states. But then he's been really intentional. So I like shout out to my brothers because they've been very intentional. So you need somebody's got to take that step. But lately we've been a lot closer
That's awesome.
now over the last couple of years, and we just had a little we lost our grandma last year,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the first time that the three of us were in the same room, just us brothers,
Mm.
uh, in probably the last I forget how long we had like chartered it out. It was basically like 15 years or
Oh
so.
wow, that's
So
crazy.
it was crazy. So that was fun, and we did a lot of reconnecting and a lot of chatting it up, and
That's cool. A
so
lot of catch
yeah,
up time. That's awesome.
yeah.
Awesome, man.
So that's a good one. That's a really good question. Of course, of course. Oh, Rob with the good questions. Oh man. Okay. You ready? Here's
Yeah.
another one. This is my last one. Okay.
Mm.
So if you, hypothetically speaking, if you
Okay.
could safely, easily access one of these two places, which location would you pick? The bottom of the ocean or the
Hmm.
moon?
Ooh, that's a good one.
This is hard because of a number.
Um,
Like if you think about it, if you're really
I
thinking about it.
I'm gonna say the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. Now
I'm gonna say
explain your reasoning.
I'm gonna say the bottom of the ocean. One, whether you believe it or not, we might have already been to the moon, right? It depends on the storyline you pick. So,
Yeah.
so, so there's
Yes.
that one. And I think I've always had a fondness for water, specifically the ocean, right? So growing up in Asia, I was a big swimmer, big scuba diver. And I knew there was like every trip I went when I was younger, there's like, oh, I just want to go like 50 more feet. Like I just
Yeah.
want to go. It's starting to get dark. Yeah, but I got a torch, right? A light. I want to go like just 50 more feet. And so that's always been kind of the back hum of every time when in the ocean. And the fact that there's so much of our oceans that we still have never explored.
Right.
So for me,
Right.
that explorer hat, like I feel like, well, everyone's pointing to the moon and Mars and stuff, which is cool, but I don't hear a lot of chatter or people be like, hey, what's at the bottom of there? Like, I don't know. Let's go take a look. Right. So, and I think so much is history. I mean, if you think about ships and our history has been sunk in the
Yeah.
water. So it'd be a cool kind of walk it back in time, so to speak, as far as what we could find down there. So for me, the vote would be, yeah, the ocean. Nothing against the moon. Love the moon. I see it every night. But
That's
the
right.
ocean is still a big question mark. So I'd love to explore that.
That is, yeah. I had a hard time thinking that through for
That's a
myself.
tough
I
one.
was like,
That's a tough
geez,
one.
I really don't know. But I really like your answer. And yeah, there's got to be a lot. There's has to be an enormous amount of history and wealth at the bottom of
Just
the ocean.
just
Yeah, but
waiting.
we can't get there.
No, too bad
Um,
we can't breathe underwater. So
I know. That would be a superpower. I think I'd probably take that one.
yeah, because then two birds, one stone. Then you could actually see the bottom of the ocean too. So you can.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. So
So my last question. I got some good ones. Okay, this obviously typical Robert question. Um, and I'll take the question has the number 3 in it, but I'll take 1, 2, 3. Right, like anywhere in between. What 3 events so far have most shaped your life?
I'm
What do
gonna
you think?
go with the first three big things that came to my mind because I'm
Okay.
sure I could overanalyze this,
Oh, of
and
course. We
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 could
could
be here
probably
for a while.
redo the lists every couple days. So,
um, but okay, number one on the charts for this guy
mhm,
is definitely going to be when I chose to follow Jesus. That's going to
mhm,
be the big one, and that
mhm.
is an ever growing, ever like changing, not ever changing, but like me doing my best to
Yes.
be in relationship with him and not get distracted by everything that is
Everything
around
else.
us.
Yes.
All the things.
Everything.
And honestly, I think the biggest part, like part of my whole story is like I grew up in a Christian home, and so
Mhm,
like I did that, like, you know, kind of prayed the prayer thing when I was 5, and I remember that, but like I didn't take that seriously, and I didn't really like commit to that, and
mhm,
really like ask the tough questions that I needed to ask, and like,
mm.
yeah, like really commit to it until I was like a junior in high school, I think. And then that's when I like really, yeah, made that faith my own.
Mhm.
And like that, the hands down, you know, that's life changing,
Oh, of
and
course.
that affects everything that I filter, like everything that I go through life
Mhm.
with. So that is hands down number one. Um and couldn't do it without him. Number two,
Mhm,
I'm gonna say would be um marrying my wife. So
mhm.
Deb
I kinda saw that
is
coming. Yep.
like the most like pivotal, you
Yeah.
know, game
It could be
changer of this second part of my life.
yes.
Um and yeah, so it's relationship, and then the third one. This is a little bit of a tricky. I'm gonna turn you up a little bit. I can't hear you. There
Yeah.
we go. Um, this is an interesting one, but I thought, you know, if something was like life altering or like changed the way that I see the world, it
Mhm.
was the the first of many. Like I would say all of the trips made a difference,
Mm.
but the first time that I traveled outside of the country,
Ah,
it
yeah.
was on a trip with my church going to Mexico.
Mhm,
And so to see for the very first time when I was in high school, uh, like people living in poverty and
mhm,
people living like in like this whole like different world to what I was used to growing up in
mhm,
was a game changer. And I think
mhm.
that was really helpful. Like I think everybody should go and like serve someone else,
Yeah.
especially in another country, like just to see like outside of your normal life and rhythms,
Yes.
it like really puts life into perspective.
I was just gonna say that
um
perspective. Yeah.
big perspective. So I'm constantly challenged by that, because you see people that are absolutely so like full of joy,
Hmm.
d- with next to nothing, right?
Yep. Yep.
And so like, man, wow.
It
So
really
I've
makes
been
you like reflect on what brings you joy, right?
That's right.
Is it that Harley Dinah? Yes, it is, but that's not the point.
Yeah, yeah,
But you know what I
yeah.
mean? That joy can be fruitful in its simplest forms. So
Yes. Yes. And so that was, yeah, I've been all over the world now, and I feel like that has very much framed the way that I see the world, but also the
mm,
way that I see things in our world today, like even like politically. We won't like dive deep into politically, but like just to like to be able to get out and see the humanity in everyone, I think is
mhm,
truly a gift, because it just breaks down all of these walls and these perceptions that you have
mhm,
about people, and you just get to see like how amazing people are no matter where they're
mhm.
at,
Agree.
and that's great.
Agree. Awesome, man.
So
Great answers as always, as
boom,
expected. And that was just
boom.
the intro. Look at that, people. Right?
That was just the
That was
intro.
just the intro. Yeah.
So now the second part, I would almost call it less of a main topic and more of like
Okay.
a challenge. A
Ooh.
challenge.
Okay.
And I'm
Okay.
curious, you and I have not talked about this ever.
Ooh. Ooh. Oh, goodness. A good thing I'm
So I
standing.
think it's gonna be,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Get ready, standing up.
okay. Mhm.
No, you well, yeah, this is okay. Okay, I'm just gonna
I
dive
thought
into
that
it
Travis
because
had to
I think
take
it's
like
gonna be
that
cool.
balk, right? He had to step off the mound for a quick second and then come back on. Okay, I'm ready.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, boom. So the challenge is take time to reminisce. Now,
Mhm.
I am gonna guide us a little bit on this
Please.
topic of
Mhm.
reminiscing, because um the idea is, if you don't reflect on the past, you miss out on a lot of things that you can be thankful for, and that
Oh
you
yeah.
can, like trajectory adjust as well.
Mhm.
So I want us to take some time to think back, and for some reason, I don't know, this just, I love doing this. And I don't know if it's because I'm afraid I'm gonna forget everything, because like dementia runs in my family. So I'm like, why my like when's my what happens if my brain goes away? I
That's why we're
don't want
doing
to
these
forget.
that's why we're doing these video podcasts.
It's recorded.
There you go.
Um, but take time to reminisce on your past. There are so many times, I guess, like, with kids, they're waking up in the middle of the night, and then I come
Mhm.
back to bed and I lay down, and all of a sudden I'm like thinking about that tree that I sat under when I was in elementary school, and I
Mhm.
watched all the kids swinging on the swings, and I can like smell the air, and I can see my friends and things like that, right? And so um, I do this a lot, but also a little while ago. Um, my best friend from elementary school, his sister reached out to me and was like, "Hey, my mom is having her 60th birthday, I think it was." And so I she was like, "We're putting some like letters together for her from everybody from her past."
Oh, so cool.
And so it's like my best friend's mom. I was like, "Oh, yes, I would love to do that." So I sat down and I was just like thinking back on what I remember of her, and like my time with my buddy,
Mhm. Mhm.
um and I have like so many great memories. And so I really like, I probably went way deeper than like probably said they were like expecting, but I just like, I realized like she was like another mother for me. So I
Yeah,
called
yeah,
her
yeah.
my other mother, like, and so I've had different other mothers throughout my life. And so I wrote this like whole letter of like, here are the things that I remember as a child of her, and this is what
Mhm.
stands out to me. And so that's still probably a gift. Like, these are the things that I remember, like looking at her through my 7-year-old eyes.
Mhm.
Um, and so I did that, and then that started like having me go into all the other, places of my past, and I just realized like, oh, man, I miss my buddies from long ago.
From
And
back
so
in the
the
day.
other
Yep.
day I reached out. I don't have their phone numbers anymore. I've switched iPhones way too many times that
Yeah.
somehow like I've lost
Yep.
contact in
Yep.
some way, shape, or form. And then like I'll realize like all of these like close friends that I had like don't have, not all of them, but some of them don't have any social media.
Yeah, they're not
And I'm
on
like, well,
social.
good for you, but how am I gonna get a hold of you? And then I looked up like LinkedIn and I was like,
Yep.
aha, okay, they're still
Found you.
around, they're still here.
Yep. Found you.
So it's really fun. I'm in the middle of it right now, but
That's
I
awesome.
reached out to one of my buddies who I did jujitsu with, and
Oh,
my
so
my
cool.
family is friends with his family, and
Very cool.
um, he and I are texting at the moment, and then we like realized as we were catching up, we haven't talked in like I don't know 15, 20 years, like oh maybe not that long. How long has it been? Yeah, probably like 15 years,
Mhm.
but yeah, like his girlfriend right now at the moment, like her family lives like 20 minutes away from me. And I was
Okay.
like,
That's such a
what?
small world. That's
And
crazy.
so yeah, so like we're gonna catch up. Like we're
Yeah,
gonna
for
get
sure. That's
together
happening.
eventually.
Yeah,
But
that'll happen.
like how many I don't know. I know other people that are very much different from myself.
Mhm.
And they just kind of like you just like they're like that's the past, and then it's just
Mhm.
kind of like, and rightfully so. Again, I want to be sensitive to those people who maybe have some traumatic past, and they're
Mhm.
like, hey, I don't want to go back to any of that.
Oh, obviously.
Unfortunately, like
We're
we
talking
lost.
about reminiscing about something positive though, right? We're
Yeah,
talking about
yeah,
going
yeah.
back to a time we do enjoy. Yeah, again,
So,
of course.
so yeah. So I'm not saying, like, get back there,
Yeah.
deal with all your things. What
No.
I mean is, I mean, sure, some of that might be healthy, maybe, maybe not. But that what I'm saying is, if you have people that were
Mhm.
in your life for a season,
Mhm.
don't be afraid to reach out to them to
To check
to
in.
reminisce on the good old days, to check
Mhm.
in, see how they're
Mhm.
doing. Um, I think it's easy to just forget about that in the minutia of everything else that's going
Mhm.
on in life. But it brought me a ton of joy. I sat there and I was like, you know what? I the kids were in bed. Uh, Dad was asleep, and I was texting him like some pictures, and I was like, all right, dude. Here's all the things that I remember of our time together. And I just
Yeah.
started listing them off. I was just like playing basketball in your backyard, like all of your, their his mom was from Hawaii. And so
Mhm.
like they had like these big luau's for like their first
Oh, that's
birthday,
so
the
cool.
kids' first birthday. So like all
Yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
sisters' birthdays. Like these were all like core memories for me that I loved
Mhm.
so much. Because yeah, who knows? Maybe like he forgot about those, or maybe he didn't see it in that way. And it's like so it's like a gift to both of you.
Yeah.
So I wonder, Rob, have
Mhm.
you run into that where you've maybe you ran into an old friend, or
Mhm.
you have reconnected with somebody from way back in the day and you've gotten the chance to connect? Have you ever done any of that?
So that's a great question, and there's two layers to my answer, and one it's not supposed to be philosophical.
Philosophical?
There's the word
Yeah.
of the day,
Yeah.
but it may come off that way. So we all have seasons of life where there's like a lull, right? Like it could be after you put the kids down and you're kind of just scrolling social media, and sometimes a friend of a friend of a friend pops up, that kind of situation, or you're
Yeah.
like, hey, I remember this kid I grew up with, and his older brother introduced me to Metallica. It's like on a tape. It was the first time ever, and I was like, "This is music. This is awesome, right?" And it was one of those like, "Oh, I'd like to reach out to him," but this was like decades later. So
Yeah.
throughout my storyline, my life, there's been moments I'm like, it could have been like, so for instance, there's that one scenario, right, where it's like, uh, in passing, I was thinking about him, and I'm like, you know what? It wasn't in passing. I was working out and listening to Metallica. That's what it was. And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what? I really like this band. Why do I really like this band? Oh yeah, Marcus's older brother gave me my first mixtape of metal, and Metallica was the first band on there. I was like, oh man, I wonder how he's doing. And so of course, go through all the social stuff and find him on Facebook, reach out. Like obviously, because I traveled a lot as a kid, doesn't live anywhere near me or in the United States,
Yeah.
right? But it was cool to kind of be like, hey, how are you doing? Short catch up. Now, my expectations going into it, it's never like, let's rekindle this friendship again,
Yeah.
right? It's
No,
more
no.
like, hey, man, like those were good times. Hopefully, they were good times for you too. And
Yeah.
so there's groups, there's people that throughout the years I'll reconnect with in moments just like, hey, man, glad you're doing well. right? And that's it. And that was like the
Yep.
end. Like maybe one or two
Absolutely.
texts. Other groups, it might be like texts for like 6 months, right? And then we just get busy and we forget to text them again because they're not in our daily interactions,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But you might touch base 6 months later, right? And you pick up right where you left off. So I kind of compare it to like a pen pal, right? So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
it's not an everyday thing, it's not an every week thing, but every once in a while it's like, hey, do you remember this? So the second group of fond memories that I did reach out to a couple years back was when I was in middle school. And you're a transplant, either in people can relate, like changing schools, or like I was living overseas, so it's like, man, I don't know anybody. And someone introduced me to this amazing game called Dungeons and Dragons. And
Yeah.
so as a kid with like no friends, I immediately got like a core group of friends, looked forward to every Friday night at Ollie's house. And his mom would always make the biggest spread. That's where I learned. I think maybe we've talked about this before, but one of the greatest late night snacks ever is homemade cinnamon toast, but it's just literally toasting bread, putting sugar and cinnamon and butter on it. Like that's it. And
Yes. Yes.
yes,
To this day, I still have that.
exactly. So I reached out to a bunch of those guys. They're all over the world. And so, and what brought that up was I started playing games with my kids, board games with my kids. I'm like, oh, I remember a time where I used to play board games all the time. And I was like, oh, there was a crew reached out. And so fond memories, we go back and forth about what games they play now, but it doesn't need to be my core group of friends. But it's nice when
Absolutely.
I have those memories to be able to reach out to them and to kind of relive those memories, so to speak.
I'm really glad that you mentioned that caveat because that is what, like, that's the what I was thinking, like the track that I was on.
Mhm.
Because what happens, right, is a lot of us just kind of like keep going with the hustle and keep looking
Mhm.
forward. And then so what happens? Eventually you come to the end of life, you die.
Yep.
And then everybody has this memorial and everybody shares all these things and you don't get to be a part of it,
like
unless
why wait till then,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fun to sit back and literally just reach out to say, hey, here's some great memories that I have because, it lights up somebody else's day and also provides some perspective that maybe somebody didn't have. Like I would
Mhm.
love it if somebody from elementary school just reached out and was like, hey, one day I remember on recess, blah, blah, blah. That was cool. What? No way. Cool. All right,
Or like
great.
we've done this a couple times too, or you're like scrolling through your phone nowadays, smartphones, right? But back in the day, we used to like scan a bunch of photos. So like you're going
Yeah.
through your phone, you see a photo of someone who was a friend from back in the day before there were smartphones, and you send that photo to them, and they're like,
Yes.
"Whoa, I can't believe you still have this. I totally remember when your dad ran over my bicycle." Yeah, like stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, we lived in the day before all of the smartphones and
Oh yeah.
digital cameras.
Hmm.
So there are so many photos that are, I mean, lost to everybody else but you,
Hmm.
basically. I did not think about that. That kind of
Hmm.
makes me want to send. There are a couple photos that I ran into recently, like actual picture, like
Yeah.
hold in your
Yeah.
hand photos that.
Over the years, we've slowly started to compile and scan those in, just so
Yes.
that we, no matter if like we move or we lose that one, because we've got a bunch of boxes like underneath the staircase kind of a thing,
Yeah.
of just photo albums. Because growing up, that was how we recorded our memories, was through photo albums. And so over the years with those photo albums, we just slowly been, we have a scanner printer kind of combo. And so we just slowly been scanning those suckers in. And every once in a while, I was like, oh, this was at my 13th birthday party. Like I know everybody in this photo. Let me look them up. Right. And you send that photo out and they're like, I can't believe you still have this. So yeah, it's a good way to reconnect to a memory for that joy, for that kind of inoculation to everything else that's going on in the world. But it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you have to like stay there, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. And then even in some of those, like it could be as quick as like a you remember that day? That was crazy. To like it could be, like a collection of memories from a certain like stage in your life.
Mhm.
And what I've noticed though is like as I think about those things, it really helps me be grateful for like, oh man, like look how much, like again, for me in my faith, like in my relationship with God, I'm like, wow, look how much you've done like to get me to here. Like,
Mhm.
wow. Like, look
Yeah,
how much provision.
there's no way I would have made this trail on my own.
Like, whoa,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And then also at the same time, it's like, Oh wow, that's so funny. Like I thought like this is where I was gonna be, or I thought this is what I was gonna do. And then you're like, but I'm right here. And
No,
this is
that's not it.
amazing. You know, like
Exactly. Exactly.
it's just all that perspective, all that reflection really gives you some great, yeah, some great perspective on where you're at personally now.
Mhm.
And yeah, maybe it makes you want to change a little something. Or
Yeah.
maybe it makes you just really happy with where you're at. And like
Yeah.
I think it's easy to try and keep up with the Joneses these days
Yeah.
and to forget to find contentment in
You
some
know
of
what? And
the
also, it might show you something you might have left behind, right? Like
yeah
you didn't realize that, man, I really did enjoy XYZ. Man, I'm going to start bringing that back, right? So yeah, so both, keeping up with the Joneses, I think it's a great way to, I think also connecting to the previous segment, that's what traveling overseas, right? Traveling internationally does for you too, is kind of give you perspective on it. And also, and I was trying to take my kids through this down memory lane because, of course, tech, right? iPads, iPhones. I was like, hey, we used to only have the outdoors as our entertainment. Like, do you know what a tree house is? Or like, why would I need a tree house? I can build it in Fortnite. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm talking
yeah
about, right? Like actually getting outside and using your hands and stubbing your toes and hammering your fingers and making those mistakes. And like, there's something to that is lost in this generation. And so, not that I'm like all of a sudden we're gonna build, tree houses outside, but to let them know that hey, there's a lot more to the world than the 8.5 by 11 piece of tech that you're holding on to. And so I
yeah
think reminiscing and going back, both for us as like dads, but also as a way to be like, hey, look at this photo. What do you not see in this photo? Yes, technology, right? Like there's nothing
yeah
about this. It's a bunch of kids at the local playground playing baseball. And that was it. Right. So I think there's some powerful reminders of what can still be if you choose to. So
amen to that.
yeah.
And man, I like it's hard to find buddies who have baseball gloves still. Like I really want to go to a park and hit
Oh my
some balls
goodness.
around like the good old days.
Man,
And I mean, I know
I
you
used
can
to
do
play
like softball league, but
yeah, that's the only thing that was like accessible, right? But no one really,
yes.
especially as dads, I don't know many. I know a handful that play softball league for like work or the area, but not baseball, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, anywho, man, I might try and do that too. I'm just gonna buy like a bunch of extra gloves and be like,
There
guys,
you go.
we're gonna go
Yeah,
catch.
just
You
like
don't
hey,
know how? I'll teach you.
we're
Let's
gonna go
go.
hang out here. Just meet me here, right?
Yeah,
That's it.
meet me
Just that.
here on your bike.
Exactly. Exactly.
There we go. Embrace it. Well, that's that. Yep. So that's the challenge for today. If you haven't
I
done
like it.
that, thanks for sharing, Rob. That was
Of course, man.
great.
Great topic as always. Travis always brings the big deep topics that are fun to kind of reminisce about,
That's
right? But
right.
I like it. No, it's good, man.
All right. Well, hey, as always, we are not professionals.
No, we're not even gurus. We're
We
just
are just two
two
dads
dads
in
in
real
real
life.
life. Have a good one.
Ciao.